Hello. What's up, people? I see you're all getting busy in chat already. Hope everyone's good. Doing pretty good here. You know the drill. Let me know. Let me know. It's a very ominous piece of music to be starting with. Let's move on. There we go. More of a nightclub vibe. Well, I can see we have all the regulars in the house. And well, look at that. Jaeger's decided to join us. Fantastic. Welcome, Jaeger. Good to have you back. Yeah, I left for 2 minutes and then suddenly like chat's all busy and stuff. I don't know. Okay. Let me turn the music down. Probably about there. Hopefully that helps. Thought you might like the... Okay, let's draw. A model that we haven't drawn for a while. Really love the shape language. She's very plastical. And I remember we had a fun time drawing her, so. All right, let's do it. I think we've only got 4 poses today. Primarily because we've only been getting to about 4 poses each session as it happens. So I figured I'd rather just kind of not have the pressure of extra poses. And we'll take our time. Nice leisurely style. Okay. Let's draw. Some subtle turns of torso here. Kind of upper torso going in this direction into what feels like a more neutral lower torso, if that makes sense. All right. Glad you're taking the let's not kid ourselves approach. Well, yeah, it's, you know, it's necessary on this fine Thursday. All right, why did the music just stop? How strange. Okay. She's coming, the upper torso is coming towards us slightly, right? We can really get a nice sense of where the neck connects there. Our manubrium sitting here, coming down, and then into the arch of the rib cage. She's going to be sitting obviously in here, and then the acis is going to kind of help tell us how this form is turning in space. Like if we look here from the rib cage coming down here, we can see from the oblique actually, it kind of gives us a clue. All right, acis is coming to about here, and we'll this kind of thing going on, right? Coming down to what would be the inguinal ligament down here. Save the bleep poses for last. They're all great poses. You have to leave at 1:30. What time is it there now? It's 1, so you've got half an hour. You're probably only going to get this one pose then, Rick. You'll just have to come back when the shop's closed to finish your homework. Something like that is the general gist. Then we got this lovely kind of okay, so oblique sitting there, and then we got this lovely kind of turn where the legs kind of coming in this direction. Doing this, right? And then this leg is kind of coming towards us, like so. Oh, it's 12 o'clock here. Yeah, of course, it's 5-hour difference. Yep. That would work. I'll allow it. What's the arch of the rib cage called in anatomical terms? Asks Daily Doodle. That's a good question, because we have the manubrium, then we obviously have the sternum, which, from what I understand, if it's correct, sternum is roughly translated to knife in Latin. I think it's in Latin, maybe it's Greek, but I think it's Latin. Because it has a kind of knife shape to it. And then at the end of it there is the xiphoid process. But I don't actually know, because obviously the arch is comprised of ribs, but I don't know if it has like an official anatomical name as an idea, or as, you know. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a good question. Maybe we can find out. All right, this music is a whack. Come on, guys. Come on now. All right, I'm just gonna go up to the usual playlist, and then we'll mix it up in a little while. That's just too much. Okay. Yeah, so oblique's going to be coming down this way. Yeah, lovely kind of roundness to the legs. Coming off. Actually, that's way too low. It's where I put it originally. How about that? Okay. Let's pull this up. Some more about there. Wideness of the hip there, coming down to the knee, sitting in there. Something like so. Model, she has just a little, very little bit of weight to her, which just really gives us such, it makes for a really lovely kind of design language. But it's subtle, and we need to try and be mindful of that. Timer not going. Thank you, Doug. Yep, that seems about right. It is now. Rich, so glad you chose this twisty pose yesterday at the live drawing co-op. I was baffled by the two of the model's twisty poses. They are challenging. They can be. Here's the, Tina, the trick with these twisty poses is let your center line help guide the understanding of what's going on with the form, right? The center line is your friend in this case. Hopefully in all cases, but especially in this case. I'm going to pull the manubrium down just a little bit. So we got the clavicle. Going up in this direction. This arm is coming down this way. Clavicle, pectoral sitting about here. And massive, this breast sitting here. That seems roughly about right. Mila, good to have you along. Hope you're well. Centerline is your friend was to remember. I'm telling you, centerline is your friend. And the other one is when doing foreshortening, find your endpoint and trust it. And the foreshortening will happen. You'll get the foreshortening for free if you trust the endpoint. So what do I mean by find the endpoint? Well, for example, her forearm is a little bit foreshortened, right? Little bit, nothing crazy. But if, for example, I know that my wrist finishes here, that's that's kind of what I'm measuring. The wrist is roughly about here. Now, if we could see her arm fully extended without foreshortening, that wrist would probably be about here. But because of the foreshortening, it's a bit shorter down here. Once I have that endpoint, I can then say, okay, now I've got something I can draw to. And you just trust it. And then it's all about just finding a nice rhythmical shape language that will help kind of, you know, get you in the ballpark. And then hand coming up here. It's why I think that to some degree or another, foreshortening doesn't have to be this crazy, intimidating concept. All right. Carter, hey Carter, have you experimented with other mediums or are you strictly a black charcoal pencil guy? I'm not strictly a charcoal guy. I just a couple of streams ago I did would call it experimenting, but I used pastels. Sorry. Yeah, the thing is, for this scale, there's a couple of things, Carter, that make me stick with charcoal for these streams. For this drawing at this scale, charcoal is it fits really well to this size, drawing this size. And secondly, that it's non-glare, right? So any kind of wax pencils, even graphite, the camera and the lights hate them. It's not that you can't do it. We could, but this paper and charcoal tends to be very forgiving on camera, and it reads very well. So that's essentially it, to be honest. But size as well. Yeah, for working at this size, the pastel doesn't translate to this size too well. It needs to be bigger, in my opinion. Hey Jim asks, very big question, any tips on being more conscious about the forms and structure instead of blindly doing it observationally? Well, I think you kind of, to some degree, you're answering your own question there, Jim. What you want to not do is blindly copy, right? You want to be aware about not only what it is that you're drawing, but how that thing turns in space, how we make an analysis of where something has come from and where it's going to, right? As a three-dimensional form sitting in space, a three-dimensional form sitting on a two-dimensional surface. So we want to try and think like sculptors rather than just blindly copying a series of two-dimensional shapes. I've mentioned it many times, but I will just mention it one more time because I think it's important to understand. But as someone starting out on their journey with drawing, there tends to be a development of shape awareness before volume awareness, and so that's kind of, you need to be thinking in terms of a series of volumes and not just a series of shapes. And that's a skill that you need to develop, and there are ways to do that, but one of them is that we're trying to start our analysis, and we're starting to try and see from a volumetric perspective. Volume first, then shape is, in my opinion, the way to go. So yeah, that's, and how you go about that, well, I think a lot of it has to do with how you start the drawing. I'm working from the largest forms first. The largest forms are going to tell us the most, right? Largest forms being the upper and the lower torso, and possibly within that idea would be potentially a supporting leg, because a supporting leg is going to create a chain reaction through the body where things are counterbalancing because of a leg that might be supporting. So there's a number of things we can look at as we're starting a drawing to help us on that thought process. All right. So yeah, hope that helps. She's very painterly, very classical, isn't she? I agree. Wow, Rick's taking no prisoners today. Well, what can I say? Margot, you heard the man. No, it's the kind of the only way I can think of really describing it. She's very classical looking. Like, you know, she's got that kind of Renaissance-y kind of shape language. By the way, guys, just so you know, today I opened a Blue Sky social media account, possibly for obvious reasons. So point being is you can catch me over there if you would rather have that as your platform of choice for updates and that. And I'm probably, well, we'll see as time goes on, but I like the idea of kind of migrating from Instagram over to there. We'll see, you know, like time will tell, and I'm not, you know, I'm not sure, but I really like it as a platform. And one of the things I really like about it, and you know, I've said this for a long time, and I maintain it. I think Instagram is a horrible way to look at images, artwork, whether it's photos or whatever, because, you know, the pinch and zoom thing is fine, but as soon as you let go, obviously it collapses. Which is just a horrible way to consume stuff. I like to be able to zoom in and then scroll around an image and enjoy it, right? Take it all in. So yeah, like on Blue Sky, it's kind of more like the way, let's say, Facebook would be, right? Which is one of the few things I think Facebook was actually better at than Instagram, ironically, given that Instagram's for images. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a nice. It seems like it could be a nice platform. It has potential. See, there's not a ton of people over there yet, but I think that will change with time. Hopefully, it does seem to be picking up momentum. Anyway, I know for a lot of people, they're trying to get rid of social media accounts rather than add more to their lives. And trust me, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I'd stay away from all of them, but under the circumstances, you know. Jim asks, what are some exercises we can do to improve seeing volumetrically? I feel that these studies reinforce more of the observational side and not enough of the other, at least for you. Well, it is, I would say, Jim, I would say that is everyone's kind of, you know, journey is at a different stage, and for you, Matt, that might be the case. I don't think it needs to be the case, though, and I do think that these types of drawings, well, look, this is, what can we do to improve seeing volumetrically? This entire drawing is made up of volumes, right? It's about building up, and I don't know if you saw from the start of the drawing, but starting off, finding the large shapes, thinking about how the form turns in space. So while we're working with reference, or it could be obviously a model, I'm absolutely not just copying what's in front of me. I'm making an analysis of the volumes and the mass, as I said, kind of hopefully like a sculptor would, and trying to then build up from the inside out. As far as exercises, I'll show you a little exercise when we're done with this drawing that you can give a go, and hopefully it'll help you with the process. But I think a lot of it's got to do with how you approach the stages of the drawing. This is what we call the diagrammatical stage of the drawing, right? And what does that mean? What does diagrammatical mean? Well, it means that we're building up form essentially with line. We're not describing form with tone, right? But we are thinking, as I said, we are thinking volumetrically. Hopefully, that's the idea anyway. But there's no reason why these exercises can't be very useful for developing that skill. They should be. If you're just blindly copying a series of shapes, the process is not, in my opinion, is not where it should be. So I'm just starting to think very lightly about where my core shadows are. You know, the way the model is lit, you know, there's a lot of areas up here which is kind of hard to see how we're going to model the form with tone. You may have to get a little bit creative because it's very kind of flat lighting. Is blue sky a new thing? I don't think I've ever heard of it. It's been around, I think it's been around probably about a year. It was initially started by Jack Dorsey, the guy who was the founder of Twitter. But it's got a whole kind of, I guess it's got like what I think they call open API, which basically means it can't be owned by anyone. It can't be owned by any one single person. It's all kind of, it's very transparent platform in the way that it's run, if that makes sense. Can I get a link to your blue sky, please? Yeah, let me, I'll put it in the chat. Let's see. I should have put it in. I meant to put it in the link below. I just never got around to it. It's been a kind of a busy day. Let me put it in the chat now. You guys can go over there, and hopefully I'll see you over there. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. I have to go in. I can't put it in the chat here. I have to go into the website. It's the whole thing. Oh, here we go. There you go. There's my profile. Stupid question. What pencils and paper do you use? It's for a friend. No, it's not a stupid question at all. I'm using General's Charcoal 6B pencils. with smooth newsprint. Okay. So I've got my I've got some core shadow in. I think I'm going to need a bit more shadow. But what I want to do at this point is I think I want to start blocking some stuff in and starting to get a sense of where things are at. I'm just going to very lightly fill in some tone here. Cannot find the official term. Could be called thoracic cage arch or costal arch or even diaphragmatic arch. Interesting. I feel like in reading that, costal arch sounds familiar, although they all kind of don't sound terrible. I'll try and take a look. I'll try and take a look after the stream and hopefully have an answer for you at some point. Excuse me. All right, I'm just going to do a little bit of blending here. And then I'm going to go in with the kneaded eraser and just hit some highlights. Just go back and forth a little bit, and then maybe go back in and re-establish some foreshadows and that, because it's quite a subtle shadow pass I have on this, and I don't want to. I like to try and avoid it becoming heavy-handed. So yeah, we'll go back and forth a couple of times here. Hey Cookie, how you doing? The word cost means bone in my language. Maybe the word's related etymologically. Yeah, very possible. Yeah, I found costal margin or costal arch. Yeah. Is that Wimpy Coffee or Murky Tea? I've got a new coffee mug, coffee cup. Wimpy Coffee, is that like Wimpy Burgers? God, I haven't seen a Wimpy in forever. Yeah, no, did you have Wimpy in the States? In the UK, we had a burger chain called Wimpy. I want to say like, well, I'm not sure when it would have started, but I know it was around in like the mid-80s. Wimpy burgers. Ah. I've got a sneaking suspicion it could even still be around. Let's just get a little bit of I would gladly pay you for on Wednesday for a coffee today. Very good. Yeah, remember Wimpy? That's crazy. Showing our age, Rick. A says, hi, I have a question. When you do shading, you use reflected light even in part that are not close or in contact with another object. How is that? Thanks. Because if you think about it, right, reflected light doesn't have to be coming from something that's super local to it. So for example, we could take the leg, for example, in here, and we've got our core shadow, which is a bit darker, right? Then we're going into a lighter area region of reflected light here. That's light that's bouncing off the ground and bouncing back onto the form, right? So it doesn't need to be something that's super close. Like obviously the closer the object is that the light's bouncing off, the brighter that reflected light will be. But you know, unless someone was standing in the vacuum of space, the potential for reflected light is always there, right? It would be diminished, or it could potentially be diminished. Like let's say she was standing on a black floor or something. It's going to be less. And then there's another side, which is reflected light. Having a core shadow and having reflected light really helps describe volume and form and gives a luminosity to the drawing. And so it could just be an artistic choice whether you see it or not, right? And it could be a very valid artistic choice to make based on that criteria. I'm not always trying to be super literal, if that makes sense. Like I would rather something be maybe like creatively ambiguous, or sorry, scientifically ambiguous but creatively strong. You know, I'd give you I had a very kind of a very vivid example of this philosophy, let's say, when I was at the Rick Museum in Amsterdam one time. I think it was a Rembrandt, but I can't say for certain, and I can't honestly remember. I wish I could remember the name of the painting, because it's an example I've used a few times and I really should know which painting it was so I could cite it. But in the one painting there was like 6 or 7 subjects, and nearly all of them had different light sources. Now no two figures were being lit from precisely the same direction, and some of them were literally being lit from the opposite direction in a way that didn't make sense to where they were in the composition. And you know what, it worked. And you didn't even look at it, you didn't even think about it unless you were looking for it, or unless, you know, you were really kind of making an analysis of the painting. So we can cheat, you know, we can push. Well, we've hit our 30-minute mark, and I am pretty much at a point with this drawing where I'm pretty satisfied to call it and move on. That was a nice pose, right? Nice twist and an enjoyable pose. She's a great model. In-N-Out burgers are the thing today. I think a hamburger is perfect food, all the food groups in one. It's one thing I miss about living in California, it is the In-N-Out burgers. And don't start with your White Castle nonsense. Okay, East Coasters, relax. It's not got anything on and in and out. Just calm down. Calm down. All right, let's move on. You're very welcome. A. Yeah, we used to have to deal with this working in CG. Oh god, what's the name of it? When light, let's say your ear is being lit from behind, and there's like, because the ear is thin, the ear glows. What do we call that? Someone tell me, please. You know, you'll know when you hear the term. But yes, that same, it's what Cookie Monsters talk about, the light transmittance on the skin. Because the skin has got a luminous quality to it, you know. Are we talking about the next pose or the last pose, Rick? Can you verbalize what's going on with her left shoulder? The collarbone seems to disappear. Or did you mean the last pose? Let me know, Rick, which one what you're talking about here, and I'll give you a demo. I forget who was asking about drawing volumetrically. I've given this demo a number of times, but a really good exercise to start thinking volumetrically is to just draw a series of volumes sitting in space, because this is essentially what the figure is, right? So we might have a box, and behind that we might have a cylinder sitting here, right? And maybe behind that we might have a sphere, and we might have a box sitting behind that. You know, maybe it's like it's turning. Then maybe behind that we might have another box, right? Going off in this direction. Might have a cylinder sitting here, right? Something like that. And let's say we've got a light source coming from this direction, right? So we're going to know, for example, let's say it's coming like that, right? So it's coming from like 2 o'clock. So we're going to have a cast shadow, and we're probably going to have a shadow shape coming in here, something like this, right? And we can even start to think about how these forms might have tone on them, right? This side might be darker than this side, right? This one and this one are going to be the same, right? This here we're probably going to have a core shadow sitting in probably somewhere like this, right? So on and so forth. We're going to probably have a core shadow sitting about here. If this is a cylinder, right? This is going to be in tone. Right? And then our cast shadow is going to be darker still, because cast shadows tend to be darker again, right? At least where they meet the object. Now you might want to do this exercise with a series of objects that are sitting in front of you. Right, maybe a core shadow about here for this cylinder sitting here. Right, our reflected light in here going up to the core shadow and to a half tone. And it's up to you how much care you want to put into this particular study. But the point being is, seems like a very simple exercise, and to some degree it is, but it will start you thinking about three-dimensional forms sitting on a two-dimensional surface. Subsurface scattering. Patrick, thank you. subsurface scattering. Yes, that's exactly what it meant with the ear, the light behind the ear as a concept, right? Subsurface scattering, the light going under the surface and scattering, as the term would imply. So yes, translucent's not a bad call, Margot, but the technical term is subsurface scattering, at least for what I'm talking about here. Here's the thing. So with this in mind, right, this concept in mind, I don't even know who asked this question, if he's still here. But I'm on a roll. But with that concept in mind, we could take a form, very simple form, and let's say we're now starting to think about foreshortening, right? So might have my lower torso sitting here, okay? Then I might have the stomach sitting in here and the obliques, rib cage sitting in here. Now I'm not using strictly a box or a cylinder. I'm using, in this case, in here, I'm kind of using a hybrid, right? Here I'm kind of using an egg shape for the rib cage, and maybe my center line is sitting in here. This is why this center line is so important, right? ACIS, inguinal ligament coming down this way. Iliac crest is going to be sitting in here. The oblique's going to be sitting on top. Might be able to see that arch of that rib cage sitting in here, right? Something like that. Might have halfway between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the iliac crest is our navel. That's probably sitting about there, right? And we can start thinking about things in this kind of terms now. We're building volume, right? Then we might have our legs, and maybe this leg. Once again, now we're coming to that idea of endpoint. Find your endpoint and draw to it, right? Might have something like that. Tensor fasciae latae, gluteus medius, gluteus maximus, sitting in there, right? All of this kind of good stuff. This leg might be, you know, sitting here, and maybe it's coming up this way, and maybe it's super foreshortened, because maybe this leg is coming over this one, right? So this is kind of doing this. Maybe our foot is sitting here, right? Point being is, this is all done with that same concept that we just looked at, as far as I'm thinking volumetrically, right? Something like that. Maybe this arm is kind of coming back this way, once again foreshortened, right? Pectoral is going to be sitting in here, right? And this, once again, another good example of drawing from our imagination, right? But the point being is, I'm using the box. I'm using that exact same concept that we just talked about on the other page, right? Thomas asks, out of curiosity, how would you practice perspective? Not necessarily figure drawing, just in general. Exactly the way I just showed you, Thomas. That's how I would practice it. You can get into vanishing points and all of that stuff. I find vanishing points really useful for environments, and you could technically start talking about vanishing points on this figure. For me, it gets clunky as a way to think for the figure. It's not that you couldn't. The same rules technically still apply. Okay, let's do the next. Honestly, you can go with Scott Robinson's approach with learning grids and drawing in them until you hate your existence, but then working outwards for. Yeah. Sadly, I can't watch. Gotta go. Sleep. Have a nice stream. Thanks, Kedge. Take care. Very cool demo. You're very welcome. Yeah, I forget who asked the question. I think they've gone. So unfortunate, but there you go. I think you here's the thing: drawing even a series of cubes on a page, but consciously understanding the angle that you want to draw them from. You could even just draw something from the same vanishing point. You could literally have a vanishing point here, and you could have a cube going up this way, right? This cube is going to be sitting something like this in space, right? Something like that, let's say. Now, from that same vanishing point, you know, do another cube here. Same idea. All right, so this one now is a little bit closer to the eye line, right? Eye line is here. Okay. So we're not going to see any of the bottom of it. Then you could have another one down here, etc., right? Something like that. Forgive the crudeness of the drawing, but just in the interest of getting a point across quickly. Another great exercise. Take that idea now and start rotating these boxes so they're not all slaves to this to this vanishing point, if you know what I mean. Or you could have another vanishing point. You could have another vanishing point over the other side, or you could have, you know, we could get into 3-point perspective. Blah 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 blah. All right, let's draw. Next pose. Thank you, Lulu. Appreciate it. Okay, next pose. You're welcome, Jim. Putting out a warning shot. You know, Lulu, I appreciate you. Theo asks, you know what to do, Lulu. Yeah, I stream, Theo, it's a really simple question to answer. I stream every Monday and Thursday at 5 o'clock GMT, which is London time. Every week, same schedule, week in, week out. All right, let me reset the clock. Good man, Lulu. Appreciate it. Not a better pencil. Yeah. Nope. You'll do. It's always funny to me, you know, like we're lucky we get very few. You're welcome, Theo. We get very few. Lulu is a dude. Yes, Lulu is, as far as I know, Rick. Unless Lulu's pulled the wool over all of our eyes. We get very few spammers. I think in large part because you have to be a member for a minute before you have to subscribe, and you have to be a member for a minute before you can make a comment. But it is hilarious, isn't it, that that person decided to subscribe and then wait to then like spew nonsense. It seems like it's just human nature is a funny thing, isn't it? What's wrong with people? It's like that's really going out of your way to be a nuisance. I don't get it. Life's too short. This is a rather quiet pose. Once again, it's one of those that we've talked about previously where we don't have a lot of information in the back. So this is where we will... Oh, I'm hating these pencils I'm picking. This is where we will provide our own information, if that makes sense. Scapula. Sitting in here. I think many... Daily Doodle says, I think many beginners learn about perspective once, then move on. Thing is, you need a lot of repetition for things to click. I think you're 100% right. I think people study it once. They do like 2 or 3 exercises, and then they call it good. But yes, it does. It's something that does need to be practiced. Here's the thing, though, I would also say to counter that is that you may only think you've studied it once, but the reality is, if any time spent on the journey of drawing, you're simply going to be forced to reckon with it more than the one time. You know, you're going to be exercising that muscle daily if you're drawing every day, you know. But I agree, and I do think it's something that people should not shy away from. What do they spam? I didn't even notice anything. Just nonsense emojis, basically, Thomas. Yeah, it's not even like... You know, say something meaningful. For this model in these poses, I don't want to make a single hard line inside of her silhouette. You know, Rick, that's probably a really good strategy. Yeah, to be very kind of deliberate with your mark making, because she does seem to require a very sensitive hand, so to speak, doesn't she? These are your biggest fans. You're funny, Neil. It's probably some kiddo. Yeah. we've all been teenagers. Oh, trust me, I would literally, you know, it's so funny, I was literally just saying to my wife, I think, was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or the day before, how thankful I am that the internet did not exist when I was a teenager. Because there would be a horrific historical record of me being an ass. Or just being a teenager, you know? See our chromium process here, obviously, with the deltoid scapula. So yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about, you know, here's the thing. I'm going to very lightly suggest this trapezius that we talked about, the V of the trapezius. Even the latissimus, I'm just going to hint at it. Just because, as I said, like, these things will, even on a subconscious level, they will provide some texture, right? And that's really what these backs need, is a bit of texture. They're going away from us. And calf coming towards us. This leg. Richard being an ass. Good grief, so hard to imagine. Here's the thing. Let's just say I never shied away from. I'll say I never shied away from a fight, but I don't mean physical. I mean, like, just, you know, verbal, let's say. And I definitely used to be, well, look, the thing is, there's my stream persona. No, never been short of an opinion. Let's just put it that way. But I do think I've mellowed a lot. I think we all do, right? Like, as we get older. And for that, I'm grateful, honestly. That's not to say I can't still go at it, but, you know. I feel like I was born wise and chill. You've no idea. This now. Not true. Not true. Yeah, look, I enjoy a good rant. I don't think that'll ever change. You know. I also do think, you know, going through being ill and all of that definitely had an effect too, you know. I think probably understandably. It's another thing I was actually we were discussing, like, just literally yesterday, myself and my wife, which is, you know, I've been about, what, a year, just over a year since I stopped chemo and was officially kind of declared free of the situation. But honestly, I feel like the whole experience, it aged me, I would say, like 15 years of my life, in hindsight. And I think I'm still recovering from, to this day. And I think that also has something to do with the chill version of me. Yeah, look, I don't want to harp on about it at all, and certainly not looking at it for a pity party, but it's just a statement of fact. And I think, you know, it's something that, well, maybe people do talk about it. I don't know. I don't pursue the support groups or whatever that people probably discuss these things, but I don't think the long-term effects of those types of treatments are discussed a whole lot. It's a case of, you know, you're proclaimed clear and you kind of get on with your life, but the long-term after effects are very much a thing, you know. Like, I think just my energy is just still nowhere near what it was pre. So it's kind of interesting, you know. Anyway. And this music's not helping, is it? Come on, let's shake it up a little bit. All right, that'll do. We're certainly enjoying the occasional rant. Look, you guys feed me enough subject matter. There could be rants every stream. We could start a third stream a week just for rants. Back in the day, during really good parties, my late wife had too many. She would pretty much be expected to stand up on a chair and give a nice 3 or 4 minute rant. We would chant rant. that feels like that's asking for trouble. Nice memory. We're all friends here. We are absolutely. Thanks, Lulu. I appreciate it. So I'm pulled this shoulder in just a little bit, which means I'm going to pull this all in just a tiny bit. Well, maybe, let's see. Deltoid coming in. Tricep. Neela said, I completely understand. I feel like we both got mentally old after my companion got his cancer, and then again the relapse of it 2 years later. I'm so sorry to hear that, Neela. Yeah. You might get quite a bit of strength back in another year or so. You could very well be right, and I do hope you're right, Lulu. Yeah, look, I things could be a lot worse, trust me. It's just, you know, just sharing the experience. But look, I hope so. But it's just, yeah, just an observation. Yeah, big hugs, everyone. This community is great for me. I'm glad to hear it, Patrick. It's great for me too. You know, it's funny because you may not know this, but I started this stream literally, I think 3 months before I got my diagnosis. And barring a couple of weeks, the streams kind of continued very shortly after the surgery and then all the way through chemo and all of that. And I'm telling you, I have so much to thank this stream for as far as keeping me sane, keeping me with a sense of purpose. Honestly, at times it felt like, you know, I needed that really badly. So yeah, look, this stream has been an absolute lifesaver in many ways, really. AI projection. It's only a matter of time. I'm guessing, like, there's probably more than enough streams if they needed to make an AI version of me. I'm sure they could rustle one up quite handily, just based on the material that's already out there. It's like, you know, how different is it really going to be? One could argue I should just create an AI version of myself and let that version host this stream. But then where would the fun be in that? All right, so I'm pretty much at the stage of thinking about tone. All right, let's do just that. Let's start getting in some core shadows. Take care, Rick. Good luck, my friend. Have a great weekend, all right? I'll see you next week. Yeah, we won't talk about you behind your back. With all the angst over the internet, then we have something like this. It's just so wonderful. Yeah, I agree. Lulu, awesome. Yeah, look, in these strange times that we find ourselves, it is nice to have something that resembles a bit of normalcy, right? Nice, something consciously trying to create too, or to nurture, you know? So I think these things are important, and it is so easy to get into kind of like a sense of despair about things. You'd be forgiven for going down that route. But you know, we'll get through it. Excuse me, folks, I have to just go and unlock the front door. I'll be right back. Okay, back. Now, which pencil thing? Didn't take long, did it? Let's see now. I actually want to go to an even softer pencil. I think this requires one of these black belt generals. All right. I'm going to just block in a little bit here. how many of you guys are on Blue Sky? I just made an account there. I don't know there's many of us over there, Thomas, but this is a good start, right? I think it's growing quickly from what I can see. Hello, Richard. Hello, Tosh. Can somebody get stuck in their art journey? Yes, absolutely. If you, what you mean by can someone get stuck is can someone plateau or feel like they're not making progress or that type of thing. Obviously it happens all the time, right? Yeah. If you've followed the stream at all, you'll know that I'm a huge advocate for plateauing and getting stuck. I think it's a very healthy sign of development. It means that there's progress, in my opinion. I have a Blue Sky account, says Canvas Dancer. Awesome. Connect with me over there. And let me know who you are, so from the stream, just so if you know, because I'm happy to follow people back, but I, you know, need to know who people are. That's assuming you'd want me following you back. You might not. Just followed you, Thomas. All right. Daily Do says, my favorite exercise for learning form and perspective is drawing a box, then draw a hinged box at the edge of the first one. What do people think that they understand about? Yeah, no, that's good exercise. Yeah, see that having value. So right now, I'm actually just going to hit this with a kneaded eraser, but right now all of my toned side of the form feels a little bit flat, so I'm going to try and see if I can just push the dynamics with a bit more cast shadow and maybe a bit more core shadow, just to try and bring a bit more dynamics into it. It's a bit lifeless right now, little anemic, as I like to say. But let me get some highlights in here first. Michael, oh, hey Michael, asks, does the work of Bridgman have any influence on you? If it does, Michael, I'm not aware of it. I have Bridgman's book. I simply could not get into it at all. I found it far too verbose and just I don't know. I just couldn't get into the rhythm of that book on any level. So consequently, I haven't really studied it. I'm not a huge, I'm not really much of a fan, to be honest. Just didn't like the approach to teaching. But that's just me. But no, to answer your question, of all the people, he's probably one of the least that has influenced me. It greatly influences his rant compulsion. My Blue Skies pixel art journey. If anyone likes pixel art, come on to Blue Skies. All right. I'm Jasmine Bay there. Jasmine Bay. All right, Jacqueline. Good to know. Sorry, should I ask for the third time? What did you ask, Cookie? I don't see what you asked. Okay. Lulu, I'm stuck. Being an artist is a struggle. Tell me how to get unstuck. WD-40. Should I just do it? Draw painting. Well, you're asking Lulu. I don't know if you want me to get involved in this. Yeah, look. Here's the thing. Being, obviously, I'm guessing you're not, but when you're a professional artist and you have to show up and draw, your employer generally doesn't care whether you're feeling it or having a good day or a bad day artistically, creatively, or otherwise. They're paying you to show up and draw. And I think that even as amateurs, sometimes you need to take that philosophy, which is sit down and put in the work. Doesn't matter whether you're feeling it today or whether your environment is perfectly set up to create art. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs will come when you're stressed and you're not feeling it. So if you're stuck, switch it up maybe. Try drawing something else. There's a number of different ways that you can approach that problem. But the point being is, sit down and show up. That's super important. If you sit there procrastinating, wondering, oh, I'm not really feeling it today, stop with that nonsense. Just sit down and draw. Okay? It'll come. You know what the trick is? One of the tricks is tell yourself, look, I'll sit down and I'll draw for 5 minutes. And guess what? You'll probably do longer. You'll probably do longer. You trick yourself into sitting down at least. My work suffers under my depression. Yeah, look. Medical conditions, especially mental health, is obviously it's a subject with huge scope of something of which I am not on any level qualified to give you advice on. But I would say, generally speaking, that you need to try and hope. No, look, you know what? I'm not even going to try and give you like superficial advice. If you've got depression or you've got some kind of mental health issue, it's beyond the scope of any kind of advice I can give you. I'm sorry. I'm just woefully unqualified to provide anything other than I would just say, look, we're here as a community. Come draw along with us if you can, if you want to. You know, there's people out there that will support your journey to some degree. You know, like don't feel alone. You know. But I'm just gonna make a ham-fisted thing. You know, if I made greater art, I'd be happier. You know, listening to, you guys know who Brian Cox is, the English astronomer, astrophysics guy? I was listening to an interview with him the other day, and they were talking about performance and basically how to become good at something. This was the general gist of the conversation. And him and the interviewer are both talking about this idea of the longer the long and the short of it is, the longer you're prepared to suck at something, the better you'll probably get at it, right? And it's about not quitting. It's about persistence, and it's about showing up, right? And given enough time, you're going to get better at this particular thing that you might want to do or you want to achieve. But the longer you're prepared to be, it comes back to this whole idea of get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get out of your comfort zone. Draw just on the edge of what's comfortable. That's where the magic happens. That's where the most improvement will happen. But keep that in mind. The longer you're prepared to suck at something, the better you'll actually end up being at it. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I am butchering their quote slightly, but that is the general gist of it. Spending weeks typing up essays and reading through pages of notes really helps build up a craving to draw and drop out of college. Yeah, it's why I never went to college, Thomas. Actually, it's not quite true. I went for 2 weeks. It's a long story. But I was already working in animation when I went to art college, and art college was getting in the way of my day job. So, all right, I'm not particularly happy with this drawing, and it's one of those where I'm starting to get into polishing a pig's ear type of territory. So I am going to call it, move on, get rid of this music. There we go. My paintings take 3 to 6 months. If your paintings are taking 3 to 6 months, Cookie, you're doing something. You're either creating 30-foot masterpieces or you're doing something wrong. But if you're spending 3 to 6 months on a single painting, in my opinion, you're probably misfiring. What's the name of the guest on the podcast again? It's Brian Cox. You know what I'll do, Margot? I'm going to link to that interview on Discord. I'll do it in the morning. I won't probably get to it today, but tomorrow I'll put a link to the interview on the Discord channel in the general chat area or something, because it's a fantastic interview, and I think that everyone would, it'd be good for everyone to hear. So I'll post it. Okay. Brian Cox, he's an English astrophysicist, but he was also a musician, and he has a very interesting journey. I like that drawing, Richard. Thank you. Here's the thing. The bones of the drawing I actually like. The tonal pass I hate. And I don't really want to spend the next 25 minutes massaging this drawing for 5 to 10% more improvement. I'd say let's just move on. All right, let's have a look at the next pose. So here is our predicament, guys. We have once again found ourselves having spent far too long on the first two poses, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but this is where we are. So here's the question. We've got about 20 minutes left. You guys, once again, we're at that point in the stream, where you guys decide, are we doing pose 3 or pose 4? I am open to either one. I think they both are lovely poses, but the people shall decide. So let me know what you think. We could just do, but it will. Lulu's saying pose 4. It's funny. 4. We've got 2 4s. All right. Well, if no one else chimes in, my vote goes to 3, says Mila. Now Mila's mixing it up. It's because I'm too lazy to flip to landscape, says Lulu. Well, out of principle, we should do 3 now. Obviously 4 is a bit more straightforward to some degree, but is it too close to what we did with 1? Kind of samey-ish, whereas 3 is a real departure. You choose. 3. Let's do 3. All right. Not enough clear swing one way or the other. So let's do 3, because it is that little bit different to what we've already drawn. Pose 3 says Tosh. All right. Then this is exactly why we need to get you out of your comfort zone. Lulu, this is what we're talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Get out of your comfort zone. Right? Look at that. There we are. Set up very quickly and easily. No bother. Let me reset the clock. Let's draw. Hey, is Jaeger still with us? Jaeger, if you're still there, chime in, will you? So we're going from a center line that's about here to, once again, we have a twisted torso, right? It's there. It's up. Yes, you're here. Excellent. No, I just wanted to say it's lovely to have you back, and I hope that you're doing okay after your loss. Our loss, everyone's loss, but I know how close you were to the maestro, and yeah, nice to have you back. That's all. That's funny. Now, this leg going out this way. I'm going to be drawing slightly off the page there, but I really like the overall size that I'm drawing here, so I'm going to leave it and go with it, so to speak. This leg's coming towards us. Yeah, I can imagine. There you go. And then losing Zakir has been such a such a tough time. Too much loss. Too much loss. Center line. Let's see now, scapula sitting about here. The humerus is about here. Excuse me. No, fair enough, Cookie Monster. I just don't know how you had the patience to spend that long on anything. Yeah. 1 in a month. Oh, and you know, sorry guys, this is probably a conversation to be had not on stream, but I did see the thing about Jeff Yeager. That was a shock. So yeah, more condolences. You know, I met Jeff a few times. Obviously, you know, through the drumming circles that we hang in. I first met him from the book that he published on Tarnath Rao, Tarnath Rao's drumming. But yeah, that was another shock. Good Lord. I didn't realize Ram Niyaran had gone too so soon. That one, yeah, I just, what can I say? Brutal. So we are going to, where are we at time-wise? Okay, we're good for a little bit. Owen says, having just done a life class today, some of these poses and models would never be comfortable holding for the length of time. Yeah, no, you're right, Owen, 100%. Well, it's one of the reasons, I'll say generally speaking, is we do have an opportunity on the stream, because we're obviously working from reference. We have an opportunity to work with both poses and time lengths on poses that you might not get a chance in a live drawing class, right? Because especially with these types of poses, it's not that we're drawing for an amount of time that you couldn't in a live drawing class, but yeah, these would not be practical to be held. So it gives us a chance to exercise a different muscle, so to speak. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jeff was great. Shame. Very sweet guy. All right, let's keep cracking away here. Yeah, I'm going to, where do I want to start? I really want to start with this idea. If it's practical. No, I don't think it is. Let's start down here. Yeah, Lulu, it's awful, isn't it? Though I have yet to pick up. I need to pick up the charcoal sticks you were recommending. Oh, actually, I have a question for you, Jaeger. So you were saying that with the General's Primo, that the HB were a little bit less insane than the 3Bs, which are like a 9B. And I went to look for those, and I can find the HBs fine, but then I noticed that they have a B. And I'm wondering if you've tried the B version of the Primos. Because that sounds like it could potentially be the sweet spot. Yeah, Lulu, I get it. It does seem available here. I did do the research, so I'm gonna pick it up shortly. Cool. There's salt embedded in your charcoal. Fish and chips in your desk. I don't know. Answer. Sorry, Owen, can you elaborate? That answered your last question. Okay, so scapula sitting here. So we are just coming up to 7 o'clock my time. We can go for a few more minutes if you guys are good. make the model hold the pose for a few more minutes, I think. Perfect daily schedule. Yeah, you're one of those, are you? Got everything mapped out to the minute. Well, there you go, Lulu. Ah, Rick, you're back. Keep them coming, bartender. Nice. Good man. Thank you so much, Rick. Let's get in a little bit of core shadow. And the large transitions. It's interesting kind of lighting that's going on. This runs a risk of Not sure about this at all. I think the shadow shapes are simply too convoluted to make a strong statement, and I haven't done anything to help that, and consequently I think we're looking at a drawing that's lost its way. Just like that. Anyway, I'll tie a bow around it because it's what we do. A fellow left-handed, it's great to see your work. Thank you, Owen. Yeah, look, us left-handers need to stick together. All right, I'll just hit this with the eraser quickly, just out of a courtesy to the process, but yeah. Don't know where it lost its way. Well, I do know where it's the tone. It's a pity. The diagrammatical, I think, was working pretty well. Such is life. 3 long poses, I think, takes its toll. I should know when to call it. Learning to draw with my left. You guys take deserters. That's something we did a couple of times, isn't it? The drawing with the other hand. And we abandoned that quickly enough. If I look like that, I'd be so happy. Well, thank you, Mugger. I need to try that again. The drawing with the opposite hand thing. All right. We will, yeah, we will call it there, I think. Meh. Oh well. Guys, we made it through another session. Just about. It was a bit of fun. A bit of fun. I genuinely find that my non-dominant hand is sometimes better than my dominant hand. I'll tell you something that happened to me a few years ago. Was I was messing around one night and I started drawing with my right hand, and now admittedly I was under the power of some single malt Scotch whiskey at the time. But I did a drawing, a relatively quick gesture drawing, and it turned out really well. And I was like, I immediately got cocky. I'm like, oh, look, I can draw as well with my right hand as I can with my left. And thought I was great. Did not try it again then until we were on stream. This was probably a few years later, and we're on stream. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do the last pose with your right hand. To find out that time that I'd done it those few years previously was arguably a complete fluke, and the drawing I created was an absolute abomination. So there you go. But you know, it could always be a bit of fun to try that again. Anyhow, you're very welcome, Tara. Thanks for coming and watching. Do me a favor, guys, if you would hit the leak button on your way out the door. Always appreciated. We will be back on Monday for a zoom in on something anatomical. Who knows what? I think I have a fair idea, but we'll see. I'll share that with you after the weekend. In the meantime, guys, take care. Have a fantastic weekend. Look after yourselves, okay? Please do that for me. Yeah, guys, good to have you back. Thanks for joining. Thanks all of you for joining. Don't think I take you regulars for granted just because I don't thank you. I don't. Even those non-member regulars, you are also very I'm very grateful for your contribution to the stream. Guys, it's been great. By the way, want to support the channel? Head over to Grafit Studio and pick yourself up a reference pack. If you use the Richard Followers 15 off thing code, I get a little kickback and you get a reference pack cheaper than you would normally. But seriously, for those of you that do buy the reference packs, which there are some of you, it is a great way to support the channel and it's always appreciated. Okay, enough of that. Guys, take care. I will see you all hopefully on Monday. In the meantime, head over to Blue Sky. Hit us up over there too. All right? I'll see you soon. Take care. Cheers.